Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into the top 10 things you should never do in Japan as a foreigner. Japan, as we all know, is a land of incredible food, stunning landscapes, and a culture so unique, it's like stepping onto another planet. But with all that wonder comes a whole bunch of social customs that even the most seasoned traveler can find. Well, a little bit baffling. So, whether you're planning your first trip to the land of the rising sun or you're a seasoned Japanophile looking for a little refresher, stick around because these are the things you absolutely, definitely shouldn't do in Japan. Let's get into it. Right, first up, let's talk about public transport. It's a vital part of daily life in Japan, and understanding the unspoken rules can make your journey much smoother. You're on the Shinkansen, bulleting towards Kyoto at a gazillion miles an hour, and your phone rings. It's an important call, but what do you do? What do you do? If you even thought about answering that, then we need to have a little chat. In Japan, answering your phone on public transport is a big no-no. In Japan, silence on public transport is golden. It's not just a preference, it's a deeply ingrained cultural norm. Think of it like a sacred space where the only acceptable noises are the gentle hum of the engine and the occasional announcement. This respect for quiet helps everyone have a more pleasant journey. No loud phone calls, no blaring music, and definitely no drunken karaoke sessions on the last train home, no matter how much you love singing along to A Whole New World. Even if you think your voice is amazing, save it for the karaoke bar. This goes for conversations too. Keep it down to a whisper, people. If you need to talk, do it quietly and respectfully. Your fellow passengers will thank you for it. A little consideration goes a long way in making everyone's commute more enjoyable. Trust me, the last thing you want is to be that person who incurs the wrath of 1,000 death stares from salarymen trying to catch a few winks on their way home. These hardworking individuals rely on this time to rest. Remember, in Japan, respecting the peace and quiet is a sign of respect for those around you. It's a simple yet powerful way to show consideration, and nobody wants to be the awkward gaijin who didn't get the memo. So next time you're on a train in Japan, remember these tips and blend in seamlessly with the locals. Enjoy the journey, take in the beautiful scenery, and appreciate the tranquility that Japanese public transport offers. It's an experience like no other. Okay, let's talk about something that often trips up us foreigners: tipping. It's a common practice in many parts of the world, but Japan has its own unique customs. In many countries, it's practically second nature to leave a little extra for good service. It's a way to show appreciation and ensure good service in the future. But in Japan, tipping is not only unnecessary, it can actually be considered rude. The culture here values respect and humility, and tipping can be seen as undermining these principles. Yep, you heard that right. Offering a tip can be interpreted as implying that the service was subpar and needed extra compensation. Think of it this way: in Japan, good service isn't something you pay extra for, it's just expected. The staff take pride in their work and aim to provide the best service possible without expecting additional rewards. It's baked into the price like a delicious melon pan. The cost you see on the menu already includes the excellent service you're going to receive. So, whether you've just had the best ramen of your life or you're checking out of your hotel, resist the urge to whip out your wallet and flash the cash. It's a cultural norm that might take some getting used to, but it's important to respect it. Just offer a polite arigato gozaimasu and a smile, and you'll be golden. A heartfelt thank you goes a long way in showing your appreciation. Trust me, they'll appreciate it more than any amount of extra yen. The genuine gratitude you express will be more meaningful to them. Plus, you'll avoid any awkward moments where they chase you down the street trying to return your forgotten change. It's all part of the unique and wonderful experience of visiting Japan. Now, let's say you're lucky enough to be invited into someone's home in Japan. That's awesome. But before you go bounding in like a hyperactive Shiba Inu, pump the brakes a little. In Japan, wearing shoes inside someone's home is a big no-no. It's considered unclean and disrespectful. Think of it like wearing your muddy hiking boots on your grandma's pristine white carpet. Not cool, right? So when you arrive at the genkan, which is the entryway to a Japanese home, make sure you slip off your shoes and pop on the provided slippers. And if you're heading into a tatami mat room, which is a traditional Japanese room with woven straw flooring, ditch the slippers too. Remember, clean feet, happy host. It's as simple as that. Okay, this next one might seem a little strange at first, but bear with me. In Japan, blowing your nose in public, especially loudly, is considered pretty darn rude. It's seen as something you should do in private, like, in the bathroom or with a tissue discreetly tucked away. So, what do you do if you've got a case of the sniffles? Well, the Japanese have a solution for that too: sniffling. Yep, instead of blowing your nose, it's considered more polite to just sniffle quietly until you can find a more private location to take care of business. It might seem a bit odd at first, but trust me, your sinuses will thank you for it, and your fellow commuters will too. Now let's talk about something that might seem like second nature to us, but can be considered quite rude in Japan: pointing. Whether you're gesturing towards a particularly delicious-looking plate of sushi or trying to get someone's attention, avoid pointing with your finger at all costs. It's considered aggressive and confrontational. Instead, try using an open hand to gesture towards something, or if you need to get someone's attention, a little wave or a nod will do the trick. Remember, in Japan, politeness and respect are key, and that includes being mindful of your body language. So keep those fingers to yourself, and you'll be right as rain. All right, imagine this. You're strolling down the street in Japan, soaking up the sights and sounds, the bustling energy of Tokyo, the vibrant colors of the market stalls, and the enticing aromas wafting through the air. When suddenly, hunger strikes. You've got a steaming hot taiyaki in hand, its crispy exterior and sweet filling calling your name, and you can't wait another second to devour it. But before you take a big old bite, hold up. In Japan, eating while walking is generally frowned upon. It's not just a minor faux pas, it's a cultural no-no. It's considered rude and a little bit uncouth. The Japanese people value manners and etiquette highly, and this extends to how and where you eat. The Japanese have a deep respect for food and the act of eating, viewing it as a moment to be cherished. Meals are often seen as a time to connect with others and appreciate the flavors and textures of the food. They believe it should be savored and enjoyed, not gobbled down on the go. Eating is an experience, a ritual that deserves your full attention. So do yourself a favor and find a nice park bench, a quiet corner, or even just step to the side of the busy street to enjoy your culinary delights. Take a moment to pause and truly enjoy the food in front of you. Your taste buds will thank you, and you'll avoid any disapproving glances from the locals. Plus, you'll get to experience a small but meaningful part of Japanese culture. Chapter 7: Chopstick Conundrums, Mastering the Art of Japanese Dining. Now let's talk chopsticks. These seemingly simple utensils can be a bit of a minefield for us foreigners. But don't worry, with a few simple tips, you'll be a chopstick pro in no time. First things first, never ever stick your chopsticks upright in your rice. It's considered extremely rude, as it resembles a funeral ritual. Secondly, avoid passing food from chopsticks to chopsticks. Again, this is reminiscent of a funeral practice and is best avoided. And lastly, when you're not using your chopsticks, rest them on the chopstick rest provided or neatly together on your plate. Remember, mastering chopsticks is a sign of respect for Japanese culture, so it's worth taking the time to learn the proper etiquette. Okay, let's talk about personal space. In Japan, personal space is a precious commodity, especially in crowded cities like Tokyo. So, if you're used to sprawling out on public transport or standing shoulder to shoulder with strangers in line, you might need to adjust your expectations a little. Try to be mindful of your surroundings and avoid standing too close to people, especially in queues or on crowded trains. And whatever you do, don't be that person who falls asleep on someone's shoulder on the train. It's just awkward. Remember, a little bit of personal space goes a long way in Japan. Now, we all love a good photo op, especially when we're traveling. But in Japan, it's important to be mindful of when and where you're snapping away. First and foremost, always ask permission before taking photos of people, especially if you're in a more traditional setting like a temple or shrine. And even if you're just snapping pics of the scenery, be aware of your surroundings and make sure you're not blocking traffic or getting in anyone's way. Remember, a little bit of courtesy goes a long way, and it's always better to be safe than sorry. Last but not least, let's talk about punctuality. In Japan, being on time is not just polite, it's practically a national sport. So, if you have an appointment, whether it's for a business meeting, a dinner date, or even just meeting up with friends, make sure you're there on time. And by on time, I mean exactly on time. Not 5 minutes early, not 5 minutes late. If you're running even a minute behind, send a quick message to let them know. Remember, punctuality is a sign of respect in Japan, so don't leave anyone hanging. So there you have it, the top 10 things you should never do in Japan. From mastering the art of chopstick etiquette to respecting personal space, navigating the intricacies of Japanese culture can be a bit of a minefield. But with a little bit of awareness and a lot of respect, you'll be well on your way to having an amazing time in the land of the rising sun. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.